Greetings, vloggers, bloggers, followers, and potters. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty with another exciting week here again. We're on the last week of Autism Month, but we're starting to work our way into May, which is shortly around the corner. So today, for our first half of our vlog, we're going to talk about death and dying. And in the autism community, for autistic, especially as myself, you know, the way we process death and dying is very atypical or very different than than neurotypicals, and we don't show as much emotion, and this is where the piece of being empathetic falls into play, where it is emphasized as if we don't share enough empathy. And I want to clarify that by saying we do have empathy, but we show it in different ways. We show our grief. We show that we share that we're grieving in a very different way than that of a neurotypical. And sometimes our emotion when we share that when we learn the news as somebody has left this earth or left our presence can be very difficult and very challenging to understand for some things, but sometimes we process it, very differently, and sometimes it'll just be in holding until later, and then it'll just come out, and the emotions will come out, a memory or a trigger will arrive, and it'll just appear. Sometimes we just process it and we move on. In fact, both my grandparents that were very close to me and did a lot for me growing up passed away about 6 years ago. About let's say about 6 years ago, at Easter last 6 years and a month ago, my grandmother passed away suddenly. I had an energy in my body that knew that she was no longer with us in this world. And, I count my blessings every day that I was privileged to go see her. I knew that she had fallen on some bad health and been a little under the weather at the time. And, I had went and seen her on the weekend. She had died on a Monday, and I was privileged to go see her and on a Sunday. Normally I wouldn't go. I had lacked interest to see my grandmother near her death for many years, and both my grandparents, because frankly I was not could not be kept entertained when I was in their residence because they did not have internet, and nor was there access to Wi-Fi. So I became frustrated at times, and to keep a conversation going as it can be, being autistic, and especially particularly my grandparents were very supportive of me, and I don't want to discount that, but they couldn't always keep the conversation going, and sometimes it wasn't always in my favor. So, but they were very supportive of me, and without a doubt, they were. They put me first before many of the grandkids in their life, many times, and many times I had to share the load, and that was, sometimes forgiving. Um, but yes, so my grandmother died, and I didn't show emotion for a very long time. I processed it differently than everybody else, and when family, particularly siblings, would process this emotion very very strongly, I was sort of perplexed as to why I wasn't doing this, or why I wasn't feeling these emotions when this was somebody that was just equally as dear to me as as it was to them, but I was just in silence, and just it's different than we process it. It's just very different. So fast forward from that event in late March, early Easter 2016, Good Friday, we interred her in the ground. She was Catholic, a devout Catholic, and we had to have a special service because, of course, if you're in the United States and you're Catholic, that is Holy Week, and you cannot have a lot of things that you normally would have at a service on at a Catholic mass for someone. So it was a very challenging time. But moving forward about 8 months, my grandfather's dementia had picked up. He'd started, and I think just also grieving from his wife passing, and they had been together for the majority of 70 years. And they before, like 2 weeks before my grandmother died, she had we had celebrated their 70th anniversary, and he took her loss very hard because it was sudden for everybody. It was sudden, and it was quite unexpected. So he was still he was still in the process of grieving, and then dementia creeped up. And sadly, I knew when the phone call came that that's what it was, and it was just, I mean, you process it differently, and that's the thing. I came across this Facebook post from another blogger, a family blog, a mother blogger, and experiencing death, especially within the COVID pandemic. And I know I don't like to harp too much on the COVID pandemic as it is, because we seem to be out of the brunt of it, but we still see death becoming more present, and more people that we thought would be around more, and would be there would be people there, specifically for me, there would be people in my life that were very monumental in my journey, and such as a school teacher, or a very devout professional who really gave it their all to make sure that I had the adequate care that I needed when I was in at my wit's end. And it's just sad. I mean, I'm still grieving the support records process, and it is exactly what it is. It's grieving it very differently than a neurotypical person would. And I just know, for that person particularly, because I knew what some of the things that their descendants had went through, it just, you're not suffering anymore. And and then same with the educator. I had heard of her, and through my work colleagues at work. She was in her last job before she retired, and she just seemed to be doing such great advocacy work, and she cared. And while she was an administrator, she cared about her children that she served. And it still was the day back in the 90s when she had been my educator in a classroom for 2 years, but I had known her for 4. And she had really cared about me and made sure that I got what I needed. And, help was very resourceful and very outside of the box. Um, just outside of the box. That's the best way you can put it. And to learn that, when it was just peculiar that about a couple weeks ago I had mentioned about there's a video, and I'll tag the clip here, but where I was mentioning bringing those yearbooks, and that was from her classroom, ironically, where I had learned about the 3 classmates that had died. I had realized the 3 classmates had died, and some were in the penal system. But just it was just sometimes you need that eye opening to realize how lucky you have it in life. And so, but but having these passings occur and reading the obituaries every day, it opens your eyes to see that life is precious. And any way you look at, whether you are believe in religion, have religious beliefs, or you do not, but I think just with death, it's just very, the way I process death is very different. And it's very odd because I don't show that crying emotion, or that severe emotion. I feel that attachment, and I want to be close to people when somebody passes, but it's very different compared to that. I have that sense in me that I know when somebody has left this earth, or somebody has no is no longer with us. But in a reality sense, I just don't grieve in the same way. I understand that they're not coming back. Some people do not understand that, and that's I can understand there's a reason why. But for me, I totally get they're not coming back. But again, I don't I don't show that expression. And so sometimes when you're with others, and you can sit through services and go to services and sit in funeral homes, you just don't have that expression that that is sort of the typical thing. And not having that being deprived of that expression can make you seem like you're cold and callous. And I'm not. I want to clarify that I sometimes present myself that way when I'm in a moment, in an emotional, in a bad spot. But truthfully, I am like one of the best teddy bears and the most supportive cheerleaders of so many. And I know so many are of me, and I am not tooting my own horn in an instance, but sometimes I feel like it can. Sometimes I just people have bad days, and when they get into those cold and callous moments, they're not really their true self, such as I am. And so, just it's like a concrete and logical thinking. You have to be honest about it too. Many times, you can't, you just you have to be very concrete, very logical when you're explaining death and dying to an autistic person. And as long as they can gather that thought that they're no longer with us, because you don't want to say they're here or they're there, and they keep thinking that, and they keep thinking, having that recognition that they're going to come back, because as we know, when somebody leaves this earth, they just don't come back, and it's very impossible. Maybe in spirit, maybe, but it's just, you have to be logical about it. And sometimes we just have our own way of processing things, and sometimes we just move on. And when we sometimes move on and we don't show that emotion, it can be seen cold and callous, and it can be put off as, we're not there, we don't have that empathy. But we show that empathy in different ways. And I think sometimes we just have to realize that, and we're processing it up here. That's the thing. We are processing it up here. And you know, it may overlook us as cold and callous. In reality, we're just people, and we're just people like you and neurotypical people, and we just have to process that thought. So, I just want you to leave with this thought this week, because I've been experiencing a lot of death and dying with people that I've looked up to for guidance in my early years. But just even with as things go on, and people that we've grown up and known, and you know have now left this earth. And sometimes we wish we had them back. I do. I wish I had some of those people back that I miss. Some of those people that were even in my first home. It's just those things you miss. And I think it's very important to understand that you have to be realistic with death and dying. And and we'll get it. We'll understand it. So it's very important to understand that. So I want to thank you again for listening today. This vlog will be transformed to a podcast. And if you're listening on the podcast, it's on Spotify in video form, or you can see it on the other ones. At Dustin's Dynasty ASD. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to tap this notification bell if you want to hear no notifications, like the video, subscribe to my channel. If you are, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Dustin's Dynasty. You can visit me on the web at dustinsdynastyusa.com. And you can always be sure to follow me on TikTok and Pinterest at Dustin's Dynasty ASD. I want to thank you for listening today. And as always, have an excellent day.